They took human DNA that came from umbilical tissue. So it has not been degraded by ultraviolet light in a lifetime of toxins and chemicals. And they isolated that DNA, they put it in a tube and put that tube inside of another tube, and they had an individual hold that tube. What they found was when that individual was feeling what we would call negative feelings, so hate, anger, hate, jealousy, rage, fear, that DNA would actually contract. It would tighten up like a little knot. And in the presence of love and compassion, gratitude, appreciation, the DNA would actually relax so much to the point that it began to unwind as if it was going to replicate itself. And here's why that's important. For the DNA to express fully, it has to be relaxed. We all know that when we're in fear, we don't think well. Certain chemicals in our body shut down while other stress chemicals kick up. We're at our best when we are in love and in joy, nurturing and compassion. This is the first time that human emotion was found to actually be able to influence what it was that was happening. So the second part of the experiment, they took the DNA, which is the stuff we're made of, and they had a container of photons, which are what atoms are made of. It's called a vacuum container full of photons. And they measure those photons. They're all over the place, just what they thought. No big deal. That's what they expected, okay? Then they take the DNA, the stuff we're made of, and they put it in with the photons. They measured it again. The DNA influenced the photons. The photons all lined up following the shape of the DNA. This is science telling us that the stuff we're made of has a direct influence on the stuff the world is made of when we direct that through emotion and thought and feeling and our belief systems. We are actually influencing the world around us in ways that science has been reluctant to accept. But this is what our ancestors have always told us. So the bottom line, the stuff we're made of is, now notice I didn't say control, I didn't say manipulate, but we have the ability to influence the stuff our world is made of, including our healing. We are part of all that we see. And to varying degrees, we have the ability still to influence and to use, it's like the internet of the universe. This is why prayers are so powerful. People who are undergoing medical procedures and they've got people praying certain kinds of prayer, another one, no prayer. Statistically, the ones receiving the prayer have less bleeding, less swelling, they heal faster, and they're more successful for the same kinds of surgery. And so scientists say, isn't that interesting? What a coincidence. Well, if science is going to be valid, remain relevant in our lives, science has to come to terms with the fact that there's more to us than our physiological body, number one, to come to the full realization of what that means, what it means to be human. Because we're on the precipice. We're about to give our humanness away to transhumanism. Machines, synthetics, AI, chemicals that mimic our immune response, but they don't mimic it as well as we create it in our own bodies. We're about to give ourselves away to those things. Once neurons believe they are no longer necessary because a computer chip is doing what the neurons used to do. Once neurons that used to be used for creativity and imagination and innovation are entertained through a visor where everything is being done in an AI world for that person, they're no longer engaged in the creative process. They're observers. And the part of their brain and their physiology, their emotions and their hormones that all respond to that begin to atrophy. That happens pretty quickly in young people. Once we do that in a generation, the next generation, that information is passed on through what we call epigenetics. Once the epigenetics say, maybe you don't need the immune system anymore because you're taking a shot every 6 months or something that does that for you, then your immune system says, you don't need me anymore. I won't do the work that I've done for 200,000 years. And I think this is really important. We have been here at least 200,000 years. Our blood is the product of a chemical formula that has been honed and refined to serve us over those 200,000 years. And I think the arrogance of the scientific community to believe that somehow we can hack that for a specific purpose, bypassing all of the other purposes that immune system is set up to do. I think that is a dangerous arrogance, and it's only one example. We're going to become two parallel societies who are all in on everything, on all the latest gadgets, on all the technology, on all the transhumanism, everything that they can do to hack or tweak, inject, place, insert into their bodies in any way. They're all in on that. There's another segment of our society, and I'll tell you where I see them is I live in a rural community in northern New Mexico. They'll say, Gregg, we don't know exactly what's happening, but it's happening too fast. We have to go back to basics. We have to go back to a more basic kind of life. Because they're growing their own food. And the stuff they can't grow, they'll come to the co-op and they'll pick it up. But they're saying, we need to grow our own food. We don't know what's in the food that our kids are eating anymore. They're taking their kids out of public schools because the kids are being taught things that don't serve them and actually harm them in terms of their development and the way that they are taught to navigate what it means to be a human, an adult in the world. They're saying, we can do a better job. We're teaching our own kids. Two societies are developing right now, and I think we're going to do what humans always do. We're going to check each other out. And we're going to say who's happier, who's healthier, whose lives are more fulfilled, who has a deeper relationship with their partners, with whatever we believe our Creator is. I'm looking at a picture behind you right now as I'm saying this. With God, if you want to say that, and with the earth, who's happier? And the answer to that question, who's happier, healthier, more fulfilled, that will determine ultimately, I think, where we go as a species. We're going to have to go through this separation of the tech. But even the low tech, we are less complicated but more sophisticated than the high tech.
I also believe that there can be a healthy synthesis of welcoming technology that can support us without neglecting the power and the intelligence of our biology and our humanness. I feel like I'm under that camp. I have had many experiences, and I'm sure you probably have as well, psychics, monks, that have been able to, with clarity of vision, see things in me that I haven't been able to see in myself. I'm pretty skeptical around in general, but were able to say things to me that no other human possibly would know. I just want to speak into this field that we have the potential with our mind as an antenna to select the vibration and the frequency of what we want, use the power of the heart to amplify that and bring forth things from the immaterial.
Sure. Yeah, we've got a future guest coming on who's going to talk about this. My dear spiritual brother of over 30 years, my colleague and friend Bruce Lipton, talks about this. The example he gives is he'll show a tuning fork and 4 glasses. One of those glasses is going to resonate to that tuning fork, and it's the one that will shatter and break. That's how you know that there's a resonance there. We are those tuning forks, and we are whatever it is that the vibration that we're creating is a composite of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, what we are resonating with in that field, and we'll begin to see more of it and maybe bring it into our lives. What you just described is what makes intelligence agencies crazy, because there are no secrets. There's information that resides in a field. If we understand how to navigate that field, that information is accessible. This is what remote viewing is all about. Very real remote viewing, which actually begins in the heart as well, communicating with that field. This was validated in 1990. Trained remote viewers to find Scud missiles in the Iraqi desert without risking troops going in and losing their lives. And the success rate was just phenomenal. Through SRI, Stanford Research Institute, remote viewing is only possible because of our ability to navigate our awareness in this soup, this quantum soup that we call the field of reality. The things that the psychics see about you is, if they're good psychics, they are empaths, and they're able to feel into those places. They tune into your vibe, your frequency. There are no secrets. They can see our past. They can see potential futures.
So this principle applied in our daily life, like you said, we have the potential capacity, that will, to using our mirror neurons or to match what we want and these neurons don't know the difference in many ways, like you spoke to, and many others, about the difference of visualizing something or actually physically witnessing it and experiencing it. Why does that become an important realization when you decide what to feed them?
Yeah, because, the science that really bore this out, where they'll do the top, left, and right, front, and back scans of the brain of an individual, same individual that is having an experience, and you can see the parts of the brain that light up during that experience. So the mirror neurons, the cubelli neurons, and for anybody that's not familiar, cubelli neurons are neurons that fire when we have an experience and when we witness the experience. All right, so when they witness someone else lifting a cup, those neurons are firing off. This is why we can sit on the couch on a Sunday afternoon, watch a soccer game. Our heart's racing, maybe we're perspiring, we're excited, but we're not even moving. But our mirror neurons don't know the difference between witnessing the experience and having the experience on that level. Now, here's where it gets really important. The third scan showed the same individual not reaching, not watching someone else reach, but imagining, visualizing that they were reaching for the cup. Same parts of the brain light up. The reason this is important, and this is what you asked, because the visualization can be with our eyes or it can be in our mind. And the way we think of ourselves and the way we see ourselves in the world is constantly feeding those mirror neurons. We are programmed through media to feel sick, lacking, and flawed, and that we need something outside of our bodies. I don't even have a TV at home, but when I'm in a hotel, if I turn on the hotel TV, every commercial is a pharmaceutical commercial.
75% of the advertising budget in the past few years was spent pharmaceutical.
And only a couple of companies in the pharmaceutical were doing it.
That's crazy.
So we're programmed to feel sick.
Fear.
What happens when we feed ourselves? My brother Joe and I, Joe Dispenza, we toured together for years. He talks about that was one of the ways that he healed his body was through that visualization process. But it's not just a fleeting image. There's a skill. And this is where coherence comes in. Once you create the coherence in your body, now we didn't really talk about this, but this is why this is important. If you try to solve your problems with your brain, some problems are good to be solved with. If you're an engineer building a space shuttle, you want to use that. But the brain, we have a left and a right brain. They function very differently. The right brain, more intuitive, colors, emotions, sensations. Left brain, logic, shapes, angles, mathematics, things like that. The point is it's polarity. If you try to solve a problem in a relationship, should I stay or should I go? There's a song in there. Or a job, should I stay or should I go? Or a health problem. If you try to solve that through the polarity of the brain will do what it does best. It will answer you in polarity. In polarity, you're always going to have a right and a wrong, and a good and a bad, and a healed and a sick, and a success and a failure, and a worthy and a not worthy. And the beauty of the heart is there is no left and right heart when it comes to the energetics. Part of my heritage is Cherokee, Southeastern Cherokee. And there's a word in Cherokee that doesn't exist in the English language. It's two words, Shante Ishta. And Shante Ishta means the single eye of the heart, the eye that sees what is. When you're in coherence, go through those 3 steps, and you begin to ask your heart, my heart. You say the words, my heart, so there's no ambiguity about what you're asking. You're asking this network right here. My heart, what is the meaning of the dream that I was shown last night? Or what am I learning in this relationship that I'm in right now? Why is my body showing me this illness right now? Anything. And your heart will answer. Hear it more objectively, and it doesn't have the same negative impact. And it empowers you or me as an individual to be in our own power, to listen to the criticism of others without a knee-jerk reaction, and then maybe responding in a healthy, constructive way.